show himself in his true colours. He could not bear the good qualities of this pretty boy, and the less because they made his own sons appear the more odious. He employed him in the meanest work of the house. He scoured the dishes, tables, etc., and scrubbed Sir's chamber, and those of the masters, his sons, he lay up in a sorry garret upon a wretched straw bed, while his brothers lay in fine rooms, with floors all inlaid upon beds of the very newest fashion, and where they had looking glasses so large that they might see themselves at their full length from head to foot. The poor boy bore all patiently, and dared not to tell his mother, who would have rattled him off, for her husband governed her entirely. When he had done his work, he used to go into the chimney corner and sit down among cinders and ashes, which made him commonly be called Cinder Boy, but the youngest, who was not so rude and uncivil as the eldest, called him Cinder. However, Cinder, notwithstanding his mean apparel, was 100 times handsomer than his brothers, though they were always dressed very richly. It happened that the Queen's daughter gave a ball, and invited all persons of fashion to it. Our young masters were also invited, for they cut a very grand figure among the quality. They were mightily delighted at this invitation, and wonderfully busy in choosing out such gowns, pantaloons, and head-clothes as might become them. This was a new trouble to Cinder, for it was he who ironed his brothers' linen and plaited their ruffles. They talked all day long of nothing but how they should be dressed. For my part, said the eldest, I will wear my red velvet suit with French trimming. And I, said the youngest, shall have my usual pantaloons, but then, to make amends for that, I will put on my gold flowered cloak and my diamond chest-piece, which is far from being the most ordinary one in the world. They sent for the best diamond they could get to make up their headdresses and adjust their neckerchiefs, and they had their red brushes and patches from Monsieur de la Poche. Cinder was likewise called up to them to be consulted in all these matters, for he had excellent notions and advised them always for the best, and offered his services to dress their heads, which they were very willing he should do. As he was doing this, they said to him, Cinder, would you not be glad to go to the ball? Alas, said he, you only jeer me. It is not for such as I can to go thither. Thou art in the right of it, replied they. It would make the people laugh to see a Cinder Boy at the ball. Anyone but Cinder would have dressed their heads awry, but he was very good and dressed them perfectly well. They were almost 2 days without eating, so much were they transported with joy. must then be very beautiful indeed. How happy you have been! Could not I see him? Ah, dear Mr. Child,